How come these memory cards keep forgetting to be uploaded?
Operator error.
Uh-huh.
You got me, Jay?
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll do the intro here first, right?
This one that you've written out,
Yeah,
and
and
then
then, and then we'll do the
And
music.
just give her
Yeah.
a finger and
Okay.
Give me a finger.
an index finger. Index finger.
And then we're gonna do Joe.
Yeah, then we're gonna do
Yeah,
Joe.
then-
Okay, just making sure.
It's very short, so.
Yeah, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I'll just leave your mic on, so.
And you can have it. You can have that clip there just in case we, want to go to it again because it's a staggering statement.
Yes, it is.
It's an expression against interest.
Yeah, we got 1 minute.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you, a little piece in
And
me.
hi, welcome to Talking Truth to Power. I am your host, President-elect Brendan Trainor. I'm here with Vice President-elect Leland Faegre, our co-host.
Feels good.
And we're broadcasting from the office of the President-elect inside the KCKQ studios in Reno Town Mall.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Well, you heard it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, and he said it with a straight face, and apparently Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell believe him
Yes.
because they're going out on a thin branch here by all
Right.
accounts, and it's pretty exciting. I'm quite hopeful.
I am too. I'm hopeful, but I'm also, cynical because these things have attempting to prove voter fraud has not worked all that often in the past.
But the propaganda media have overwhelming influence in the dialogue around the water coolers in every remote part of the country. So
Right. There's a lot of people, half the country, or maybe a lot more than half the country,
yeah,
thinks that there's something very, very wrong with the outcome of the last presidential election.
well, according to Lynn Wood, he thinks he got 80 million votes
Wow.
and over 400 electoral votes.
Well, that would be amazing. I can just see the Antifa, what Antifa will do with that. They don't even like Biden. They've been attacking Biden people. They attacked the MAGA March people, and children, too,
Yeah.
were attacked. Yeah. So we
They
have,
don't care who they.
No.
These are stellar citizens, aren't
Right.
they?
They're communists to the core. So several lawsuits have been dismissed so far, but those were those filed by individuals that we might say had their tinfoil hats on. Like they alleged things that were pretty easily explained away, and the judges would not accept them. They may seem a little suspicious on the surface, but when you get down into it, they were not enough to stand judicial scrutiny. But we have some very fine attorneys saying that talking about fire hoses, streaming evidence, and all of these, allegations that they're collating and so on, they probably won't file anything until next week.
Yeah, that's probably the timetable for it. You know that most people probably aren't familiar with the name Lynn Wood, let alone
Right.
Sidney Powell. But Lynn Wood was who took up Jewel in the terror attack at the
Oh, okay.
Olympics. He defended Jewel.
He's not the same person that's defending the
Covington kids.
Covington kids?
Also defending the
and
Covington.
Kenosha?
I'm not sure about that one. But with the same mindset, I think, that Kenosha episode was taken on. And I just think that these people have such an extraordinary reputation, legal reputation. They must know something we don't.
Right. I certainly hope so, because all we can do is is listen to them speak, and we have there are several legal analysts that are available on
Who never come up, by the way. Their names never come up with the propaganda media. Lynn Wood or Sidney Powell.
No, I'm not talking about the
No, I
propaganda
just happened
media.
to.
Yeah. So we should go over the history of these Dominion systems. In Nevada, it's a subsidiary, Sequoia Machines, that are based in California, as far as these electronic votes. Now, most of you remember in 2000, Bush v. Gore with the hanging chads on the old system with the punch cards that that you had to punch correctly in order to get your ballot taken.
Those are the cards we also took tests with in college. Remember the same kind?
Yeah. So
God, I hated those.
The word then after that debacle was, never fear, we'll abandon paper ballots and go to electronics. But then just 4 years later, Nevada, North Carolina, and California experienced serious problems with the electronic touchscreen machines, dropping votes, and whole counties in California, I believe.
Right.
So Nevada became the first in the country to resist the calls for a complete return to paper ballots. I remember a lot of people were arguing that we should just go back to paper ballots. But Nevada instituted the Voter Verified Paper Audit, and it has the acronym VVPA. And that's that small screen attachment to the main ballot screen that you see when you cast your vote. And if you request it, it's not automatic.
Right.
If you request it, you can see a printout of your vote as it was recorded. But what happens after that?
Yeah, it doesn't prove anything, really.
Yeah, really. So
and Adam Laxalt, the son of the former governor of the state, has believes that 15,000 people voted in Nevada and another state.
Okay.
Remember, as I
Right.
held up my California
Yeah, you
sample
get a
ballot?
mail-in ballot from California.
Right, I could have done the same thing. So I
Right.
know that's a
But you're too honest to do that.
right, and I just tear it up because I
Right.
can't vote in two places.
Right.
Can I?
Not unless maybe you're a Democrat. Then you're allowed to.
Well, according to Adam Laxalt Jr., it was 15,000 people who voted in Nevada and another state, and that's the number. That's the difference.
Yep.
That's the difference between Trump and Biden in this state.
Yep. And since 2004, there have been numerous examples of people claiming that these machines are easily hackable. Remember we thought Russia was hacking the machines for a while, but they couldn't prove that a single vote had been hacked by Russia. But what Russia can't accomplish, maybe the DNC can. So,
Right.
So we'll have to wait on that. But we'll see what happens. If the voting, it could be invalidated and all of these assertions proved.
Well, in Pennsylvania, I think that's the most likely outcome, don't you?
I think so. Yeah.
And it'll end up in the House of Representatives.
Well, if the nation's votes go to the House of Representatives, each state gets one vote. And according to the way I've seen it tabulated, there are more Republican states than
37.
So unless there's a never Trump round there,
I'm going to open up a bottle of wine.
You hear it all the time. Buy local, think local, eat local, choose local, grow local. But who the heck really is local? You can shop with locals at the Nevada Marketplace in the Reno Town Mall and search for locals at buynevadafirst.com.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ,
a Lotus broadcast station.
the power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-12 2266. Now back to the show.
That's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and with me is Leland, Faegre, our co-host. And we are, what's going on in Afghanistan and other war zones. It looks like the great game is becoming the great race. And it's a race to pull out of there.
Yeah.
And President Trump is racing to bring all or at least half of the troops in Afghanistan, in Syria, and possibly in Somalia too, although we haven't heard that on the lamestream media, but Somalia's been mentioned.
You know, Joe Biden actually believed that they would have pulled out of Afghanistan in 2014.
Right.
Remember that?
Well, actually, there were stories. I don't know if he ever said it publicly.
I think he did. Yeah.
I think he did try to pull out of, or at least try to block the surge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit encouraging. But we had Defense Secretary Elster, who was fired by President Trump because he was saying that it's too soon to pull out. It's premature.
19 years.
Yeah. And Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller is now working with Colonel McGregor. He was up for the ambassador to Germany, but he'd have to be approved by the Senate for that. And Mitch McConnell does not approve of the Trump's troop pullout.
No, he's the one that believes it's premature.
Yes.
After 19 years.
Yeah, I know. Come on, ejaculate and get out of there, Senator Elster was... So Secretary Elster was fired. McGregor, good man, is given the assignment to bring them home.
Finally, a role for him in the Trump administration.
Yes, finally, after 4 years.
Oh, my God.
So CNN is also saying that it's premature and reckless and trying to paint Trump as as supporting terrorists. That's what they tried to do in several articles.
The propaganda media are just public relations outlets for the industrial military state.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
And then Syrian envoy James Jeffrey publicly admitted as he left Syria that he hid the actual real numbers of U.S. troop numbers.
Isn't that something? What do you do with a guy like that?
I know. You'd think he'd be up for treason. He'd be before a Senate committee.
Yeah. I mean, apart from getting fired,
right,
he should be disciplined somehow.
Right.
I can't believe that. Everything that we could have probably not imagined has happened in this administration.
Yeah. It's the great, clarification. That's what Trump is.
Mm-hmm.
For, I don't back the president 100%, but I do say that if nothing else, he has clarified what he's up against. The deep state is real.
Right.
And it's not, it's not a fiction.
The fact that we're just now talking about McGregor
right,
having a role in this administration reveals just how difficult this was.
Right.
The establishment had a tight, extraordinary control over the apparatus of administrative function, and that's what we call the deep state now.
Right.
If this administration has not done anything else, it has at least alerted the American people that there is such a thing.
Okay. So another thing we're noticing is that nobody's talking about foreign interference in the election.
Mm-hmm,
so there must be a reason for that, right? So either it's we can give you some examples as to why nobody's talking about it. I mean, did Trump convince his handler, Vladimir Putin, to kind of lay off the election?
Yeah, right. That's what they would say.
Did election workers do a magnificent job of detecting and stopping fraud? Not according to all the lawsuits.
That's what they would say.
Yeah.
There's a theme here.
Did social media successfully stop Putin from buying $60,000 worth of Facebook ads and spending $4,000 on Twitter posts that changed the course of the election?
That's what they would say.
Maybe foreign interference was not a big deal in the first place. Like Rosanna Denner would say, never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Or foreign nations learned their lessons and are now totally committed to free and fair elections in America.
Oh, yeah.
From here on.
That's what it is.
All right. Well, there actually was a lot of foreign interference, but since the good guy won, it's really not
You
important.
talking about our interference in their elections? That never gets discussed.
Well, no, never. So,
Since 1947.
there has to be a logical explanation in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But
You'll only hear it here.
no. So it's like COVID. As soon as the election is over, everybody is out celebrating and not wearing masks, and there's no big deal. No?
The Thanksgiving police are on their way, though, as we're
Yes.
hearing.
Yes. Did our governor say anything about Thanksgiving?
I don't think he has. He's not articulated it anyway. But, he's so close to the left coast that
Right.
it can't be but just hours away.
Yeah, he calls Gavin up every day to see what he should do.
It's still a week off, so there's plenty of time to enforce a
Right.
Thanksgiving enforcement.
And we know that people like Gavin Newsom and Nurse Ratchet
Yeah.
in the governor of
Gretchen.
Michigan, Gretchen.
Gretchen's a piece.
Yeah, she's under fire, and there's a possibility that the Republican legislature will be able to impeach her
Yeah.
for crimes.
You'd certainly think they'd get a lot of help from their constituencies, from the residents of the state.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a long time to be
Yeah, I know.
hung up in
To
their
be
homes.
hung up in lockdowns. And again, her husband had to pass to go get on his boat and party, but
Yeah.
not anybody,
Not anybody else.
No.
Some animals are more equal than others.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at this, in retrospect, it could be a chapter in Orwell's 1984.
Oh, yeah. It's
Thanksgiving police?
I know.
You're going to come by my door and see if, we're breaking your regulations about a dinner, a Thanksgiving dinner?
And you have to have letters.
Yeah.
You have to make a list. You have to, put a pencil and paper out and have all the guests sign in and have that ready to show the authorities who
Verification.
visited
Yeah.
you.
Did you see, the most egregious of these authoritarians is the Brown, what's her name, from Oregon, Governor Brown.
Oh, yeah.
She's the daughter of Edmund G. Brown,
The former governor of California.
that my mother voted for
Right.
many years ago. And it inflamed my dad that she would vote for him. But she's the daughter of that man. And, of course, her brother is the former governor. How many terms did he serve? 4, right?
I think so, yeah.
2, and then he came back and served another 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same mindset, the authoritarian mindset. She's really frightening. I think she's more frightening than Gretchen Whitmer.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bill Sardi was on Ron Paul today, the Liberty Report, and he actually thinks, now I'm not endorsing this because it sounds pretty far out, but he actually thinks that there is no real COVID-19, that tests are testing positive for coronavirus, but coronavirus is a general term for colds and flus, and he believes that it's a vitamin B1 deficiency, that we're all on, because of our diet and lifestyle habits, we're all on the verge of beriberi in civilized countries, and that's what's causing it. He says lack of vitamin B1 causes shortness of breath, causes nausea, causes lack of appetite, like you can't smell or taste anything.
Now, is Jack Dorsey going after him?
Well, he's not on YouTube.
He's not on Twitter.
Nope. He's,
okay.
He's on the LouRockwell.com and the Ron Paul, and these people that are skeptical of vaccines and also of allopathic medicine in general, and his he may have a good point. I don't know. It would certainly be a radical point. And we're going to get into a little bit about the...
Perhaps it aggravates and makes more vulnerable the individual to receive the contagion.
It's possible,
Yeah.
But who's going to pay for studies like that? Nobody, none of these official publications ever study, naturopathic medication. So, it's all vaccine. And we'll see. 50% of Americans are skeptical of taking the vaccine, at least now. And he's telling you that they have to give you a consent form. It's in the law. It's in the U.S. code. They have to give you a consent form. They cannot force the vaccine on you. We'll see about that as well in the upcoming months.
Well, I think as they administer to the more vulnerable demographic groups, the aged and the comorbidity, a lot of it will take care of itself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it'll be much of an issue at all.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
I see where Dorsey's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, we'll
Jack
send
Dorsey
him a card.
Yeah. Did you see any of that testimony yesterday?
I saw Zuckerberg where he didn't know what some programs were. He claimed he didn't know that these programs were tracking everybody.
Apparently he doesn't know his own company.
It's possible. I mean, look at Trump. He doesn't know what's going on.
Or is it plausible deniability?
It could be that too, of course.
So apparently there's some sort of a program called Centra.
Uh-huh.
And he denied the existence of, or he was unaware.
That existed.
Yeah, but the premise of the program is that it chases you around,
right.
Follows you around.
Not just on Facebook.
If you've got a dark cloud, they want to know.
Slice fresh sandwiches every day, made right before your eyes. The port of Subway could be a smoking number 5 or a classic number 8, or maybe an Italian is your number 1 fave. Whatever you crave, prepare to fall in love. Slice fresh sandwiches, port of Subway.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ.
A Lotus broadcast station.
The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Trainor. I'm here with Leland Faegre. I'm talking truth to power. President-elect, right? I mean, if some people, other people can claim the title, why not?
Can I be vice president?
You can be vice president-elect.
All right.
All you have to do is say it, and you are. So, and so we've been covering a little bit the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and it looks like the Armenians lost the war. Okay, so they were forced to evacuate the disputed territory that they had with Azerbaijan, and they were, if you go on YouTube, you can see that they burned their houses and so on, left scorched earth behind them.
Did the networks cover that at all?
Very little. Yeah. Didn't see it at all. Even though, there is a large Armenian population in America and Western Europe. But
got precious little coverage, I thought.
Right. So there is a Armenian autonomous region still in Azerbaijan, which is protected by Russia. It was Vladimir Putin that brought the two sides to Moscow and brokered the peace. And there will be Russian peacekeepers there to enforce the terms and to keep the Armenian autonomous region autonomous.
Will Vladimir get a Nobel Peace Prize
do you think
nomination?
some Swede will nominate him? And we give the Nobel Peace Prize to Vladimir Putin. I can just see it.
Anything in 2020 is possible.
So the president of Armenia, he's under fire for sucking up to the West, which gave no support to him during this conflict. NATO refused to help, but after all, Turkey is NATO, and Turkey was the primary instigator behind the conflict, as most observers see. So in return for helping to broker the peace, Russia has a larger presence in the Caucasus Mountains that separate Russia and Turkey and the Levant from Russia. And that's always a pretty good thing because, that has been in the past a hotbed of terrorism, the Chechens and the Dagestanis. have had terrorist inclinations in the past. So that is a serious security concern for Russia. So they got that. And Erdogan got a victory, but he didn't get everything he wanted.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. But so Armenia is left exposed for not upgrading the military, especially its defenses. They
never saw it coming, did they?
No, I don't think so. The Israelis and the Turks provided small drones. If you haven't been following what's been going on in Syria, you think of drones as those large drones that hover over a village in Afghanistan and then suddenly fire down upon them. But these are different. These are more like swarms of insects type drones. I mean, they're probably a little bit bigger than an insect, but they're small drones and they're kamikaze drones. They just, they explode on contact.
No return home.
No. The poor drones. So, the only thing that's really effective against these small drones is the Russian S-300 and 400 missile defense systems. And so maybe Russia will sell Armenia some of those. But
we have another arms race.
Yep, another arms race. So, we, in the spirit of keeping you up with what's going on in the world, now I understand that Saudi Arabia may be willing to negotiate a peace with Yemen, the Houthis, depending on conditions. And the Democratic congressman from San Jose, Ro Khanna, he says that if Biden becomes president, the Democrats will push through another proposal to get the U.S. out of the conflict. Although by the time, these government actors can act, it
Right.
may be virtually over.
Yeah.
The Houthis have pretty much won the war.
The idea there is to deleverage Iran.
Right.
That's the whole purpose.
Supposedly, Iran was a big contributor to the Yemen conflict, but there's no real proof of that. Yeah, the Houthis are technically Shia, but as I understand it, they're very, very conservative Shia. Their version of Sharia law is much closer to the Sunni Muslims than the Shia Muslims. But anyway, they are technically Shia because, they believe the Shia thing is all about the secession to Muhammad. And the Shia way back, and this goes back centuries, but the Shia believed that when Muhammad died, a blood relative should take over. He only had a daughter, Fatima, but they didn't give it to her, but they named their caliphate after her, the Fatima Caliphate. But they gave the succession to a cousin of Fatima's, a male, whereas the Sunnis did not want to have a relative of Muhammad assume power. They were infatuated with a guy named Abu Bakr. So that's how this whole thing started. And then there's been things since then. The Shias have their martyrs and so on that stood up and tried to get this their way, and they haven't been able to do it. And this whole thing has been going on for centuries. I know, it's like
never ends.
The schism between the Orthodox Christians in Russia and the Franks, the Frankish, the Germanic Italian Pope and the Latin Church. So that's you see these things with religions all the time, and it's one of the major drawbacks to having religion.
Progress.
Yeah. Having religion as a determination of your culture.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, though,
there's something about religion. That's what the framers were making clear when they created this nation.
Right.
It needs to,
well, they were tired.
needs to be in the basement.
Yeah, they were tired of the 30 Years' War.
Yeah.
Although, of course, the Puritans came over here. They wanted freedom for themselves, but not for anybody else. And then you had the Catholics and so on come over here, and
I wonder if the Pilgrims would think about the Thanksgiving police.
Yeah,
how much toleration would they have for the Thanksgiving police?
I don't think they would have much.
bloodthirsty, those pilgrims.
So maybe peace is going to break out, but the people that are being put or looks like are going to be serving in the Obama cabinet. I mean, I said Obama cabinet because that's basically what it is.
Yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah, the Biden-Obama.
Just a continuation of it.
Right. Or the Harris administration under President Biden and ex-President Obama.
And the point you make here is that it couldn't possibly be an explanation for how the voting went.
Yeah.
It gives more credulity to the idea that it was stolen.
Right.
That there was mischief behind the scenes. Because who would vote for that again?
They actually believe that they're the competent ones.
I know they do.
They do. They believe that.
Well, because their mission is globalism. Their
Right.
mission is to set this UN, this United Nations order up as a legacy to the people who came before them. I mean, they've been at it for 100 years.
Right.
Trump came along and said, I don't like it. It's got to go. That's what they're so upset about.
Oh, sure.
In a phrase, in an expression, in a sentence. That's what they were frightened of about his ability to pull off a discontinuation of their march towards a new world order.
All this stuff about Trump being corrupt. Okay, he let some government, organizations use his hotels, and maybe he made some money off of that. We don't know, but the fact is that Biden is so much more corrupt than Trump could ever dream of being. You heard about Biden's charity?
The cancer charity?
Yeah, the cancer charity.
They set those things up as an exempt foundation or something in the tax code, and then they just take the money right out of it and put it in their own pockets.
I know. It's Hillary
What's
Clinton's,
cancer?
Hillary Clinton's Foundation 2.0, that's all.
What's cancer?
I know.
Well, they don't care about that stuff.
No. So they, the mission statement says they were here to encourage new programs. So how do you encourage new programs? Well, you have a bunch of conferences, and you fly people first class, and you book first class rooms, and they get paid these enormous salaries, and you talk and talk and talk, and that's how you promote the cancer.
That's how you get there. Yeah. So if you like that one, the Clinton Foundation's a doozy. Because that's the only thing they were doing.
Right.
I think they have to, 94% has to go somewhere else. They can't put more than 6% in their own pockets, I think is how the code works. Something along those lines.
Well, they obviously.
So they're buying patronage and,
Right.
And that's how they.
Money laundering.
Yeah, and it's in the code. It's in the IRS code.
Right.
So.
And I think there's 2 different nonprofits, and one you have to keep records, but there's another one that you don't have to keep records.
You don't even have to keep records?
And you can marry the 2 of them.
Thieves wrote that code, didn't they?
Yes, they did. I wonder what ethnicity would be hard at work figuring out ways to scam money in a white-collar crime type of way. I wonder. Maybe we'll find out in the
We'll
next
think
segment.
about it over the commercial break.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll probably come up with something.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ.
A Lotus broadcast station.
The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Talking Truth and Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. You know what? I blew that. I forgot we were doing the introduction, the musical introduction. But it's time for another chapter for Jews in the News. Sounds good. There we go.
You have a disclaimer, though, don't you?
Yeah, we have to have the Anti-Defamation League disclaimer whenever we do this segment. And
I've notified security already.
Yeah,
so we're good.
so we are, in fact, cognizant that Israel is America's greatest ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, and they don't throw gay people off of buildings. And whenever we observe Jews behaving badly, we must admit that always and everywhere, ultimately, it's our fault.
And Netanyahu's talking to Biden already.
Yes, he is. Oh, yeah. I said he said, Donald, I thank you for everything, but you're gone now. And Joe, remember that time together we had? And when I came to Washington and talked to the Congress about how Iran was so bad, and you agreed with me. Well,
he addressed a joint chamber, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
House and Senate.
Yeah, because only Benjamin can get that kind of privilege.
Yeah.
But there have been several Jews in the news that, of course, the newspaper doesn't, the mainstream media doesn't tell you they're Jewish because that would be anti-Semitic. But nevertheless, if you look in Wikipedia, you can usually find out pretty quickly. And, if the Democrats want a cabinet that looks like America, well, only 2% of Americans are Jewish. And yet, as always and everywhere, they're greatly represented beyond their actual population in the country. So the first one I wanted to talk about was the CEO of Faegre, Albert Bourya, and he is a Greek Jew from Thessalonica, and he is a CEO. But why is he a Jew in the news? Well, you can put that under Fauci's revenge.
I'll bet she's up to that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and because he is the CEO that okayed the delay of the announcement that Pfizer had the vaccine conveniently until after the election. And then he told Fauci first before he told anybody in the Trump administration.
Right.
So.
And didn't he also declare that he was not part of Warp Speed? He issued a public statement to the effect that he was not part of Warp Speed, and that was a lie. He was part of Warp Speed.
Okay.
He got lots of money to initiate that effort. They all did.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole deal, And yet he claimed he did it without the money, the taxpayer bailout. I can't believe that guy.
Well,
that's why he's on Jews in the News.
That's why he's on Jews in the News, so we can refer you to the facts here.
The Trump administration issued a statement following his statement, countermanding theirs. That I think it was $1.2 billion went to Pfizer. That's a handsome amount of money.
That is, yeah.
So.
And they didn't actually develop the vaccine. It was developed in Germany. What they did is push it through to the final testing stages, which they delayed for some inexplicable reason until it was, too late to announce it for the election.
Nobody had calendars in that office.
All right, so next up we have Chief of Staff Ron Klain, who is the former Chief of Staff to VP Biden and also to Al Gore. And the mainstream media is talking about how he is the Ebola czar.
Yeah.
During the Obama administration.
And he admitted that they just blew it.
Well, they blew the previous H1N1.
Yeah.
The only reason why it didn't result in a catastrophe was
it's N1H1.
N1H1.
I know that because Biden
calls
it N1H1.
the only reason the fact that they blew it, the only reason why it didn't result in a catastrophe is that the virus turned out to be not so bad.
Not as contagious.
Yeah, not as contagious, not as lethal.
We were all very lucky. But that guy is now chief of staff, apparently.
Yeah.
And I looked him up. He's not a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Okay, that's a good thing.
That's in his favor. But I don't think it's going to matter much because obviously he's very close.
Right. So the next one is Communications Director of State-Owned Media, and by that we mean outfits like Radio, Free Asia, Radio Free Europe, all the
Voice of America,
all of those. Richard Stengel, and Stengel has been in the news because we brought up a talk he gave, or a colloquy he gave at the Atlantic Council, which we all know is a NATO front, in which he said that propaganda is good, even if it's directed at U.S. citizens. We have nothing to fear about propaganda, and we also have to rethink the First Amendment because, it's flawed. The First Amendment is flawed. The founders, they lived a long time ago, and we have to say right now that we have to make sure that we don't call people names or do anything that would incite people. You can't burn the Quran, I think, is the example he gave.
You can't?
No.
You can't make fun of Muhammad in any way.
You can't make fun of Muhammad in any way.
You just have no sense of humor at all.
Right. And I suppose, I'm sure that, what they're going to push for, but, Secretary of State Pompeo and the right-wingers in the Trump administration are on board with it too, is trying to get through some exception to the First Amendment where if you criticize Israel or the Zionist movement, that will be forbidden, and that will be considered hate speech or anti-Semitic. But
and if the listener doesn't understand that this has been an ongoing effort for many, 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 many years, they do not understand the dynamic of propaganda. This is a quote from Bill Casey, former CIA director Bill Casey, under Reagan. That's right, he was under Reagan. Here's the quote: "We'll know our disinformation is complete when everything the American public believes is false."
Right. And it all goes back also to Goebbels.
Oh, yeah.
The Hitler administration,
the
big lie.
Mastered
if
that.
you just keep repeating the big lie over and over
again, it becomes truth.
It becomes the truth, right? And we're living under a lot of big lies. Now, another Jew in the news, although you may not have heard about it because I'm referring to an expose by Jimmy Dore, and nobody criticizes the left from the left like Jimmy Dore.
I saw him on Tucker, I think it was last week.
Yeah, he gets to be on Tucker sometimes. But his name is Bernard Schwartz, and Jimmy Dore did an expose of him showing a meeting that he called that was attended by all the mainstream Democrats. I'm not sure if Biden was there, but I know Pocahontas was there, and Kamala, and a lot of them, right during the Iowa caucuses, in which they convinced Pete Buttigieg to announce he won the Iowa caucuses to take away some of the luster from Bernie Sanders.
Has that ever been established?
That what? That Bernie won? Or?
Yeah. That was such a shakeup that night.
I know. It is kind of unclear, but the thing is...
it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. But the thing is, he claimed victory immediately before the votes were even counted, and then he was part of the Super Tuesday massacre when all the Democratic candidates dropped out right before the election, and only Bernie and Pocahontas were left, and Pocahontas took some of the progressive votes away from Bernie, and so Biden won Super Tuesday, and that's what propelled him to the nomination.
After a few phone calls, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you'll hear much about him because he operates behind the scenes, but Bernard Schwartz, Wall Street hedge fund manager and Democratic power broker. And then on the COVID-19 task force, we have another Emmanuel. And this is Ezekiel Emmanuel.
Well, he's the guy that said we needed a lockdown for 18 months.
He could be, but He is notable for saying that he will forego any flu shots after 75 years of age, because after that age, no one contributes anything to the world. I wonder if Joe Biden remembers that quote.
Well, he's in the basement. Who knows what he... Yeah.
So don't tell Biden that. You said that, but
like that guy's a loon.
Yeah, people suspect it was because his father was Dr. Benjamin Emanuel, who was a notorious Irgun terrorist. If you know, in the 1930s and 40s, the Zionist movement was led by actual terrorists that were killing people, bombing, raping women, bombing hotels, and sending bombs in the mail to people in England. So he's glad that his father died.
Quite a legacy.
Yes, and he wants to distribute the vaccine based on poverty statistics. In other words, to poor nations first. So we're going to see a lot of this. We're going to see about creating wealth and equity over the next 4 years if Biden makes it in.
Absolutely.